Hi and welcome back to MDriven. This video is on subcolumn expressions. So, subcolumn expressions, what are they? Well, I'm going to show you by creating a new view model. What's too big, like this. I'm going to add a new one. View model 1 that's rooted in class 1, and I'm gonna add these attributes. Tell you what, I'm gonna add a placing container to put them in, and then add these 3 attributes, and under that I'm gonna do a follow the link to class 2. So this is just this simple model, and here I'm going to add these attributes from class 2. So running this, let's run it in web prototype. I'm going to restart the server to run towards this, and then hopefully I have I'm gonna add a new instance, save. Yeah, right, I forgot to add an action to actually bring this up. Since this is a rooted one, I'm gonna do a class action on this one, and that action is gonna have the name, bring it up, and it's gonna bring up this view model 1, and the root for that is gonna be self. Okay, unclear, I'm gonna check that later. Now I have the action here and bring it up. So yes, I would also need some instances of class 2, of course. So I'm gonna search and show how to form for this, and then go to class 2 and add a few of that. Let's do 3 of those. Good. Now I can go to this one again, and I see I have 3 rows here. So, subcolumn expressions, what are they? Where's my notepad? Here. So what are they? It's the things that we call if we create a column with the same name but append it with a specific postfix, like underscore visible or underscore read-only or underscore label, it has meaning to the framework. And what kind of meaning? Well, let's check on this attribute 1. So this is called attribute 1. I'm going to do a copy of that. And if I call this one label, and now the idea is that this is actually a subcolumn to this one, telling this one to not render with the label attribute 1, which is static, but instead using the expression and from here to get the value of the label. So that would mean that whenever I write something here, the label is what I write. And of course that could be something else. I could this label could take the value of attribute 2 instead, just any expression that I have available. So this is label. and then that makes the label for this column. So that's one use of the sub-level sub-column expressions. But what about these other ones then? I'm gonna do a copy of this and call it read only, and this read only expression is supposed to be a boolean. Does it allow us to edit or not? And that could be an expression. Let's check if attribute 2 equals yes, and then attribute 1 read only yes, so this I can edit this now, but when this gets the value of yes, I can't edit it, because then this rule kicks in. That's over here. Attribute 2 equals yes, then read only becomes true, and you can't edit this one. And why this one? Because attribute 1 underscore read only. So these are what we call the sub-column expressions, and they have been a little bit hidden, and they are hard to know about, and that's not good. Of course, we have the visible and also the style that acts the same way. So why do we have them? At least why do we have style, visible, and read only? Because as you remember, style is possible to set here with a style expression like this, and also read only expression is possible to set straight on the column. So why would we need a read only sub-column expression? Well, this is sort of part of us discovering this a bit late, or understanding things a bit late, because these expressions are rooted in the root, and for this green level the root and self will be the same, so that's no difference. But on this blue level, self is a class 2 object, but the expression for this one, read only, is actually this one. So we can make that clear by going into the OCL editor for this attribute here, and see that the context is actually class 1, namely this one. So that's a bit of a gotcha that can get you confused. But this actually means that let's make this one editable by setting the tag value. Okay, refresh from wiki. Setting the tag value editable. Yeah, I remembered wrong. You should set it on the nesting level. Editable. Add. And setting that to true. Having done that, I can see that these are actually controls now in my grid, and they are read-only. Why are they read-only? Well, because the read-only expression on the column itself is set to true, so that's always read-only then. If I remove that and save, I would have that this one, attribute 2, is now read-write, because that was the one I removed. I'm going to remove this one as well. And that's all fine. That might be exactly what we need to be able to control it on column level. But what if we want to control it on cell level? On controlling it on cell level would be impossible because we are rooted in the root object of this whole view, and that's 1. But we have 3 instances in this case of this control. So we really need a way to get back to finding the context of the cell in order to do just this cell read-only. And the way we would do that is by doing a subcolumn expression called read-only on this level. So attribute 2 will match this attribute 2, and it has the special name underscore read-only. And let's say that it should be read-only only when attribute 1 is not allow. Could be any expression, and you could follow your model any way you want. So now we can't edit this one until some value is valid, and then I immediately can edit it. But so I was a bit surprised that it looks like these are editable as well, but I think this is a consequence of the binding expression is actually using the current variable, and I wonder if that is correct. It should use the at Dennis we might need to look at this, why this is, because when I switch then it's read-only, it's actually only possible to edit this one. You can't edit these ones. Yes, I would have thought that this was the same way. Let's check it for another one. Let's do one of the subcolumn expressions is style, and that was maybe the driver for the subcolumn expressions. Because it's really important to be able to set the style on a per cell level from time to time. So on this one, the style attribute will be the value of attribute 1. So currently there's nothing special, but we can define the style or a style. Let's call it just new style 1 and set the whole grid cell to a specific color. So we're gonna need to add a color, and I'm gonna do that like that kind of green, and I say that that's the fill color for the cell for new style 1. And having done that, I should be able to say that the value of attribute 1 is new style 1, and then this one turns green. Okay, why does it go up like this? Well, since we took it upon ourselves to own the style, we need to also maybe say that we should align it in the middle like that. Okay, so whenever this changes to something else, it won't match the style, and that won't be fine. That would be fine. But on the other, to compare it with the built-in or the standard style expression, let's do that on attribute 3 here to prove a point. So on attribute 3, I'm gonna do the style ref. I'm gonna pick the style to new style 1, and what happens then is that the whole column is using new style 1, and there's no way to influence on a per cell basis, only on a per column basis. So that's one of the drivers for the subcolumn expressions. So that's the answer pretty much on why do we have them and why can't they be properties of the main column. Like the standard style, visible and read only, as they are rooted on the top of the ViewModel-tree. But if we want to control of individual cells in a grid nesting, then it's too low precision. All right, so that's the sort of description on why we have them. So we have updated the ViewModel-editor to make it easier to work with these kind of subcolumns. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Up here there's a new checkbox, display subcolumns, and that is persistent. It will be remembered on the view model. Maybe in the future we will make this permanent, but if I check this now, you can see that the different columns that I had added actually went away, and they went in under the attribute column. So that makes sense, since we call this I'm going to zoom this. This is also a new feature of the ViewModel-editor, that I can just control and use the mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and out, and that allows me to use smaller fonts on this. So this is the label, and then I can change the label expression, and this is the read-only expression, and these are sort of lifted in under here. So I can see what happens if I were to uncheck this. Then they jump back to being their own unique columns like this, but the new thing is to pull them in under, so it's clear that these are actually subcolumn expressions. So and this is also good. Once we have done this, if I were to change name on attribute 1 to something, attribute 1 something, it actually also fixes to rename the subcolumn expressions like this. And that would not be the case if they weren't in this mode of display subcolumn. If I rename this one, it's just renaming that one. It has nothing to do with these, and as I do that, it won't discover that these are associated with attribute 1. So to get them to be noticed as such again, I would need to match the first part of the name like this, and then it would jump up since I have this checked. And same here. But once we are in this mode, I can actually change this to something, and they will be renamed accordingly. So that's one of the improvements. We also, since these have been very secretive and not easy to know, and that they are available, added a new extra subcolumn expression. And now read only and label are grayed out, since I've already used them on this one, but I can use the style and visible. So I can add the style and what the style expression should be. Maybe it should be I'm gonna do self and attribute 2. And if I then go here and say new style 1, I would have assumed let's see, attribute 2, the value of attribute 2 should be this one, new style 1. Yes, so when I define the styles, I only set one type of target, namely the grid cell, but I actually want the whole component, if it's not in a grid, to have this back color as well. And then when I say new style 1, this will turn green, and if I were to remove or say something else and a new style 1, it would change as well. So that makes it easy to find, to add the extra subcolumn expressions just by clicking these, and the label on attribute 2 maybe could be made to actually have the value of that one. So now that is called new style 1. Good. Good. So adding a menu for subcolumns. And subcolumns only use their main expression. Yeah, so when you click on one of these subcolumns, it's no point doing the read-only and visible and StyleRef on those. It's only this one that's actually is in effect for the subcolumns, because they are not their own controls now. They are just rendering properties of the main control. And then it's obvious that there's really no point in doing subcolumns for the subcolumns. So that's that point. While we were at it, we might as well make the standard visible read-only and StyleRef fields visible in the tree directly. So what I mean by that, if, for example, this one, if we were happy with only having the standard read-only and visible expressions, I can put this one to like false. Then that also will show up just as a subcolumn, even though it's not strictly a subcolumn. It's parentheses standard std here behind, short for standard, to allow you to see everything in the tree, because that has been an issue before, to know that the read-only expression is actually in effect for attribute 3. You had to click it and then just look here. That's why we introduced a while ago these lights, and now it had turned yellow, signaling that there is something in the read-only. And if it were something in the visible, an expression, any expression really, that would show up also, and then both these lamps would be highlighted. Now the lamps sort of don't mean that much. Of course, they are still good if you're in this mode, but once everyone knows about this new mode, I think that will be the winner for this. And then maybe we can remove these lamps, I don't know. So benefits of showing all in the tree: the search highlight works better. So what I mean by that is, if we do Control F to find stuff here, and we enter something to search for, it could be cumbersome to actually see that we used false somewhere because it was in a non-selected column. let me show you if I'm selecting this one and then clearing this and going back to false. When the standard expressions weren't available in the tree, there was really no way to see that if I were to click the attribute 3, then I would notice that this false was used here in the read-only expression for attribute 3. So that's much better now that everything is available in the tree, and this is one of the points that that I had on the list to fix to make the highlighter find or looking in all expressions, and this is sort of a way to address that problem. Also the live edit becomes better than before, because now when we have live edit on, we can see all the expressions straight up to know what they are, and in this simple mode we are not really allowed to change the expression. If we go to the advanced mode, of course we can do everything that we could do in this main ViewModel-editor. Yeah, and the last point was that we made the tree zoomable to allow for smaller fonts, and I've said that already, but that also makes this live edit a bit easier to work with, because then I can have I don't have to either use up a lot of space or no space at all, as was the way before. Now I can choose a bit more to see what I want to see. Good. So that was the video on subcolumn expressions, and I think that's it. Thank you.